get ready for a disaster. And then third, if you're LDS, well, you know, the leadership of your church has told you to do this too. So you got all those voices telling you to do this, and then you also have reality. You know, there's disasters all the time. And we can talk about what some of those are. And if you have a question at any time, please just ask. All right, so I'm a retired counterintelligence agent, right? Shot finder, right? That's that tool that I developed that the Secret Service stole from me, fair and square. Okay. They're deploying shot finder in a neighborhood in Las Vegas now. I really wish because the reason I'm telling you is so you can tell Tom. But it's an acoustic sensor, so wherever a bullet comes from, it processes 40,000 times a second. Okay. I developed it for combat, but you know it's been used but that was 15 years ago. Anyway, so shot finder. It's a way to tell you where a bullet comes from and where it's safe and unsafe. So speaking of safe and unsafe, okay, I moved here because it's just right. All right, anybody have any questions about this?
That's a great slide, Scott. I like that.
So it's just right, okay. And even within that circle, you can make that circle even narrower. And I really like Cedar. I really like the people here. I like it. Okay. Just wish it wasn't that cold today because I went down to Vegas to buy a new motorcycle. That's why I was down there. So I got it. I want to go ride. I want to ride. It was raining right when I got here. So.
If we tell too many people about the secret of what we've got here, it's going to be too crowded, too much crime, too flaky. We do not tell too many people.
I think we're going to be okay with it because, you know, if you want to move here, you know, you're welcome to. Because all right, let's do a little show of hands. Who was born in Cedar City? Who? All right, so who? Everybody else. We got one person born here. Everybody else is from somewhere else. See? Okay. So they did the math. All right. They're here because it's safe. All right. So these are my reasons for living here. Okay. All right. So the topics. You know, I really want. You know, usually you have an agenda slide, but we're not going to follow a formal agenda. We're going to talk about some topics. So again, if you have questions, please ask. Let's make this interactive, and we want to do this in an hour. Okay. And so, you know, I'm taking as little as your time as I can on a Saturday. So with that said, so resources, you know, Mark has been kind enough to put that checklist together for you, right? And print it out. It is expense. It's free. All the classes that we do are free. And why do we do that? Because we believe in having a community that's prepared for whatever happens. So we also have a whole bunch of other checklists, and they're available on our website. So if you go to wellprepared.com, take a look at the checklists.
Yep, actually also everybody that signed this paper today will send you all the class materials that Scott is recommending for a day. There's the PowerPoint, all the class materials, and even the video that's being taken is going to be available. So be sure to sign this, and we'll make sure to keep you connected with all the materials.
So that is a great point. So one of the things that you don't see, because these are just, you know, that's just the PowerPoint slide, right? But there are note slides in here too with a lot of information and links, and there's all kinds of good stuff in this file. So avail yourselves of it. So again, this is what we're going to talk about today. All right, so a disaster. Something happens, something bad happens, big, you know, intermediate, large, macro, you know, micro, doesn't really matter, but something bad happens, okay? And something happens in your neighborhood or something happens to your home. So your home is no longer safe. So now you've got to make a decision to bug in or bug out, right? So what I mean by it's unsafe, that could be temporary, that could be a hazmat thing where it's temporary, right? But so you need to make a decision, and that's what this class is about, is the whole decision-making process to bug in, which means shelter in place. So it depends on who we're talking to. That's FEMA uses the expression shelter in place. Department of Homeland Security says secure in place, okay? But they're almost synonymous. There's a little bit of difference between the two. So it depends on how long you're going to shelter in place at home. Depends, what you're going to need. And so yesterday when I was coming back from Vegas, as I'm coming up through St. George, we all know where this is, right? That's coming into the Virgin River Gorge, right? Okay, so there's construction south of St. George on I-15. And you guys, anybody been down there lately? Why do they do that? It's St. George. Fix the road and leave it alone, right? Why have a construction project every 15 minutes? Okay, job security, yeah. Somebody's getting kickbacks, okay, from the construction industry. Some politician, I'm sure. So yeah. But because of my situational awareness, right? I knew to get off at the new airport exit, get off there, take the frontage road and come north, and then get back on the interstate and avoid where the cars weren't moving at all. Okay, so situational awareness, paying attention. Iron County Emergency Management has an app. If you've got a smartphone, you can download it, install it on your phone. So if something happens, if there's an Amber Alert in the state, or if there's some kind of event here in the county, you can get a notice. You can get a notification, so you don't drive into, say, a hazardous material or some kind of situation.
What's the app?
I'm sorry?
What's the domain? The app?
If you go, there's an Android version and there's an iPhone version. If you go to Iron County, Iron County Emergency Management, go to that page, I think there's a hyperlink that'll take you to it.
I also have these ERGs available to anybody who wants them. It shows you the hazardous materials. You can recognize these logos on here. You see them on backs of trucks and on buildings.
Here, throw that to me. Not as long as you're bringing it up. I can catch.
You sure?
I wasn't in the Navy.
Oh, hey! Yeah. That's not bad.
Every chance I get, I mean, 'cause, if you're a soldier, you gotta, and I was a Marine too, so 2 services, so I get to really pick on the Navy. And my dad was a squid, right? Was a squid. Yeah, you're a sailor, yeah. You got 3 in the family.
3 services.
Oh, 3 services. Couldn't make up your mind, huh? No, yeah, you just like them all. So my son just finished boot camp, and he's 17. Finished boot, and he wants to be a medic. He's in the National. Lay down. He wants to be in the National Guard. Then he wants to go to medical school. So kind of following a family tradition. All right. So back to the point though. Emergency response guide. You can get one of these if you want. But what I was trying to get to is my kids, growing up, including the one that just went through basic training. On trips, we'll go by a semi, and the placards that are on the semi make the kids look it up. Okay, so what is that? Okay, the first one that gets it right gets to pick the restaurant where we're going to stop. Okay, so if we're going to go to Cracker Barrel, okay, that's great. Now we know we're going to Cracker Barrel. Who wants dessert? Well, okay, all of them do, right? So that truck and that truck, if they get in an accident and those contents combine, what's it going to make? Who can find that? First one to find that gets to pick the dessert. Okay, so we make road games out of it to keep them busy, and then also it teaches them something too. So criteria. This is one of the things today. That I want you to take away from this class. It's one of the major takeaways. So what is trigger criteria? Well, in the military, it's like if 5 guys cross that line, now we open fire. If 3 guys cross the line, we're just quiet and we wait until 5 guys cross. Okay. So trigger criteria. So when something happens, I do something. Okay. So why do I say that? Because I've seen lots of disasters where people wait. And they go, well, okay, if the water gets knee deep, we'll go. Okay, well, the water's knee deep now. Okay, well, we're not drowning. Grandma's okay. She's floating on the coffee table. Everything's okay. When the water gets waist deep, we're going to go. Then we'll go. Okay, so now the water's waist deep. Grandma's floundering over there. And, and the other problems. Okay, well, we're still okay. Okay. Now that it's neck deep, okay, maybe we should go. Well, guess what? It's too late. The car's underwater. You can't get the car out of the driveway, blah, blah, blah. So don't do that. So what I strongly suggest is develop your own set of criteria. Okay, so if X happens, I go, period. Okay, and that's one of the things I'll show you here in a few minutes. So you need to determine what those are for you. So I have different categories, like earthquake, flood, crime, different things. So if different things happen, I take different measures. And so DEFCON, this is like civilian DEFCON, right? Or defense condition that the military has used for years, different colors, right? So really, most of the time I'm in the green mode, okay? Surveillance. I pay attention to what's going on. It's just heads on a swivel, okay? I can avoid bad things that happen. And then as the situation changes, I can make changes to what I'm doing. Any questions? You guys are quiet today. So I watched a video on this guy, Mark Hammonds. Okay, I'm from Florida originally. Okay, I'm an 8th generation Floridian, go way back, one of the oldest families in the state. A true cracker. If anybody ever wants to know what a cracker means, I'll explain it to you. It's not a racist term. It means you raise cattle. But anyway, so crackers. All right, so Mark down in Tampa was really late in evacuating. He waited, and then you got into that stream of traffic. Now, if you know what Florida looks like, it's a peninsula, right? So Tampa's on about halfway down the peninsula on the left hand, on the Gulf Coast, Gulf Coast side. If you're coming out of Florida, what you got to do is you kind of come out of Tampa, you get into Central Florida, then you get to go north. Because there's no highways, no interstates over here, okay? It's basically swampland out there around Cedar Key, Chiefland, west of Gainesville, anyway. So you got to come over to this part of the state and then go north. Well, guess what? Everybody from Miami is coming up here. This is Orlando, right? So everybody's flowing into Orlando and then we're going to go north. So he's in a 16-hour traffic jam because he waited too long. If you know a Category 4 is going to hit your house in 2 days, board the windows and go now. Go get into Georgia. Go wherever you're going to go. Go get a hotel. Go get a hotel before they're all full. Okay, but plan ahead. That's the whole point of this. That's if you bug out versus if you stay home. All right, people who panic, okay, are typically the ones that are unprepared. They freeze in place, or it's just what happens. Typically, if you are prepared for something and you practice, you don't panic. That's why in the military we do things again and again and again and again, so it just becomes automatic. We don't have to think about it. And then getting the family together, that's one of those key things. So I mentioned right now the wife is in the car on her way to Salt Lake. Something bad happens in Salt Lake, I would have her come back this way. She's in the car. If she can't make it, he and I will jump in my truck and I'll go get them. I'll find out where they are and link up with them. And that, not because I always have a plan. It's just I'm anal retentive that way. A lot. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about normal. So what is normal? Normal's today's situation. We're ready to do, we're just living our life, okay? But we've already done a risk assessment for our home. How many of you guys have done that? How many know, based on where you live, what are the risks to you, your family? Okay? Are you in an earthquake zone? What about a fire? What about a flash flood? What about yada, yada, yada? Okay, how close are you to the interstate, by the way? I-15. If there's a wreck on I-15 and there's a truck full of chlorine, lay down. If there's a spill on I-15 and there's a chlorine spill, do you need to worry about it? Because if you live miles away from it, chances are that's going to disperse before it gets to you. So you should do a risk analysis or a threat analysis, right? And then based on the results of that, that's what you're going to use for your planning. And by the way, we're happy to help anybody do that. All you need to do is ask the staff and we'll help you do that. So, is your home fire ready? Okay? What does that mean? What does fire ready mean? Well, I'm not going to go into detail in this class because we don't have time, but we go into it a little bit more in more detail in the home hardening class that's available on the website as well. So home hardening, if you go south of here, 15 minutes, that ridge is to the right. There's 3 houses on that ridge that, where a couple of years ago the fire burned right up to the homes, but the homes were fine. The homes survived, and that's because they're fire ready. Okay, so there's no fuel around the house, there's no yada yada yada. So learn about what fire ready is and do that. You need a 72 kit for each, not just for me, but each family member should have one. And then we have them, and they're also marked, okay? They're marked with a kind of ink too that I can see it in daylight or at night, but I'm anal retentive, as I mentioned. So over there, on top of those 2 blue barrels, all right, those 55-gallon drums are over there. That's my everyday carry kit, okay? I have that with me all the time, and I know it looks like a lot, and it is. But I can tell you, there's 2 first aid kits. There's one for me that I'll use for me, and there's one I'm willing to share and help other people. But I have all kinds of essentials in there. Backup communications, backup lights, backup yada yada. And this is one of the things that we carry that it's hard to, it's kind of slick, is you see the holster for the flashlight. So now I can use my flashlight, work with my hands. I can do this, right? I can move the light. I know, my wife likes it when no, she doesn't. But you know, and so I can also. So it's a handy little holster, right? And that's just for the flashlight. Now you can put. It's an expandable flashlight, right? You can put other things in it, or lots of different things, right? Much bigger, you know. But so it's a handy little tool. So I've got one of those on there too. My Leatherman's in there. This is my little cheapo every day. So if I lose it or break it, you know, what do I care? It was $10 at Walmart. But my expensive, my really good Leatherman is in there. So, but that's my everyday carry, which is not the same thing as a bug out bag. But I take that thing over there with me everywhere I go. I always have it, and typically I got him too. It's just my alarm system. And then our communication plan. Okay, how are we going to talk? How am I going to talk to the wife? Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. And then one of the last things that you need to do is to get in shape and stay in shape. Okay, why do I say that? Well, you know, lucky me, I get to or have to use the VA medical system. Okay, which is awful. Okay, any vet will tell you that it's awful. It's terrible. You want to fix it? You make Congress use it. That's the only way we're ever going to fix it. Okay, it's terrible. It's you know, I can't describe how bad it is. It's just, it's not the people. There's so many good people that work for the VA, but the system itself is terrible. So get fit now. If you've got dental issues, get your teeth fixed now. If you got other problems, get it done now. So if there is a disaster, you're healthy. You don't want to have a broken, rotted tooth during a disaster. It's not going to be any fun. Okay, so this is normal. So we got normal situation. This is where we are today. A disaster happens, and then we either bug in, we stay home, and we use those resources that we have, or we bug out. That's the crux. That's what we're going to talk about today. Bugging in or bugging out. Now, a friend of mine, she lives at her bug out location, right? She lives out in the valley. She lives out in Burl, right? She's got water. She's got solar. She's got it's all fenced. She's got a guard dog. She's got firearms. She's got night vision goggles. She's a retired Army nurse. She's got all kinds of medical stuff, right? So she lives at her bug out location. And for a while, I had a ranch out there, and I did that too. But I got to get the VA to fix a few more things. So I moved into town for a while. So I'm in town, even though I had a bug out location. So my plan is, if I have to bug out, I'm going to her place. But when would I go? I'm going to go before the disaster happens, right? I want to, you know, because I'm monitoring events. What I don't want to do is go during the disaster and get stuck in the traffic when we talked about Florida, right? And I certainly don't want to go after. So, not if I don't have to. So, again, pay attention to what's going on around you. There goes a Schwann Stroke. I was a chief security officer for that company, for Schwann's. I love the company. Really good food, by the way. All right, and I could tell you some stories about that too, because two guys down in Texas tried to get a couple of our trucks because they were going to use it to deliver some biological stuff. Their FBI arrested them, but that was 10 years ago now. Okay, so do I stay or do I go? This is the big decision. If X happens, you know, I want to just stay at home and bug in. But if things get worse, am I ready to bug out? And if I have to bug out, do I know which way I'm going? Now, my wife can't navigate to save her life, okay? Okay, she knows how to she can use some of the more, modern electronic devices, okay? But when it says turn left now, okay, that is her limit, just turn left now, okay? She cannot see any further out than that, like turn left in a mile or in 3 miles or 10 miles or whatever, okay? I've tried to teach her to read a map, and you think it's fun. My daughter, on the other hand, you could spin her around and say, all right, show me where north is, and she'll go, okay, it's that way. All right, but mom refuses to learn, to read a map. So, honey, if you look at a map, where's north? Where's north on a map? At the top. Every map made in the United States, that's a standard, right? North is always at the top of the map. You look at the map, look at the scale, right? Then you know how big, how far apart things are, right? Navigating using a map is cake. Don't trust electronic devices, right? Okay, because they're wrong. So anyway. So the reason we're talking about maps is know where you're going to go and how you're going to get there, and have some alternatives. Okay. Skills. Okay, I was just talking about navigation. Okay. I'm trying to teach my wife to navigate. She doesn't want to learn. Okay, so if anybody wants to take that task on and take her aside and teach her how to read a map, use a compass, I'll take her to dinner. Okay. All right. So can I get my whole family there, wherever there is? So if we evacuate from Cedar City and we're going to Blank's house out in Burl or in Duck Creek or wherever we're going, does everybody know how to get there? And then can I talk to the family while we're evacuating? We want to be able to maintain communications, because typically, okay, so we're at home, but we're not typically at home all hours of the day, right? We're at home together as a family a few hours of the day. The kids are in school, mom's at work, dad's at work, running errands, who knows? Okay, but we're in different places, so that means a couple of different vehicles. So my wife, we have two things in her trunk. One is her get-home bag, okay, which has it's 72 hours of essentials in her trunk, plus a vehicle bag. And that's because, that's heavier stuff. That's got things like the tow straps, jumper cables, road flares, and yada, yada, yada. Energy bars, a couple bottles of water, quart of oil, those kinds of things, right? Everybody should have one of those in their car too. And we carry them, and but I would suggest that you can put your own together and customize it for your needs, but have both of those things. And then down here at the bottom left, this guy, okay, in the military we call it a shit magnet. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but that's what we call it, because you're just going to draw flies, okay, the bad guys. You're driving the Denali, towing an RV. And then behind the RV, you've got another trailer, because you've got two trailers back there, and the other one's got your quads on it, right? Yeah, well, yeah, in a disaster, some thug's going to want your goodies, so don't advertise it. So, first of all, if things get bad, can I deal with it at home? Do I have all the essentials? And that's why we give you this checklist. Again, this is for 14 days, that checklist, 14 days. All right, and we consider that a basic kit. The next list that we're gonna publicize is one that's for 90 days, and then we're also gonna put one together that's for a year. Okay. All right. All right. And here's another big question: can I choose to evacuate? Do I have the option? Because like in Florida, there's lots of times where you don't have a choice. Literally, living at home. I've had the sheriff's department driving down the road using their loudspeaker on the unit on the car, right, the patrol car, make an announcement saying you must evacuate. You must evacuate. You must leave now. Okay, so if that's the case, if something, there's nothing to say that, there could be a spill, and we're told to evacuate, and, so we grab our bag and go right now. And I know that I have enough stuff that I can survive, I can thrive for a couple of days. Yes, sir.
In emergency, they're told to evacuate, they're told they're going to designate trails they're going to.
They can, yes. Frequently, that's a good point, right? So like if you live in Florida, there are known evacuation routes where the engineers looked at the bridge capacity, looked at where water's going to collect, those kinds of things. And so there are marked evacuation routes. But not everywhere does that, okay? If you live in the Pacific Northwest, for example, if you live, like around Seattle, blah, 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 and anywhere on the coast, that there are evacuation routes too because of a tsunami, okay? So different reason, but the same concept. And it used to be...
Each ward will often will have, or each city will have already preset evacuation routes.
Right, that's a great point. Okay, so cities do. But as citizens, you know what those are, though. Okay, do you? Okay, like back when I lived in Las Vegas, you know what the evacuation routes for Las Vegas are? The two interstates. That's the only way to get out of Dodge, right? Well, that's where everybody's going anyway. And what's traffic like in Vegas on a regular day, right? There's a wreck every 10 or 15 minutes, right? And if anything bad happens, you're going nowhere. Okay, so Las Vegas is one of those places that, it's terrible to evacuate, but staying on evacuation routes. So one of the other things too, that's, if all else fails, use the interstate when you can, because you can get the most, the highest speed, go as far as you can. But then if you need to, you gotta get off the interstate and use a secondary road, a state highway or county road. Another thing that I used to do, and actually years ago, I flew my tanks into Arkansas, and I attacked Fort Chaffee. Okay, my job was to go kick these guys' ass. Okay, and they knew we were coming, but they didn't know how we were going to get there. So we used the power line pass, right? The power line right-of-ways. Okay, now an M1 on a power line path can only go 60 miles an hour. Okay, and these are infantry guys. They're specialized infantry that are supposed to stop us. Did not happen. Okay, didn't even so much as slow us down. Hey, you're going to leak crap. Don't get all over the side of my tank. You're just going to make it dirty. So anyway, but there's alternative routes: power line trails, pipeline trails, right-of-ways, that kind of thing. So be familiar with those. Don't ask my wife because she couldn't show you that on the map, but I can. All right. So, and then like I said, sometimes you. Yes, Mark. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're talking about maps. Wouldn't it be nice to have BLM map or something like that besides regular road maps?
No, okay. So that's a great question. All right. So different types of maps, right? There's one that you can get from the visitor center, right? That's got the whole county with a couple of different icons on it, and that's kind of handy just to know where there's some resources, right? And then I have a Rand McNally in my truck, right? That's got the whole country, and then I've also got a state map, right? That's got every driveway and dirt road, literally every driveway and dirt road on it. Okay, so it depends on where I'm going, because what you don't want to do is you're driving down the road, you don't want to pull out that map sheet where you can't see out the windshield while you're trying to read the map, which is why I'm so desperate to get my wife to navigate, because as a co-driver, her responsibility is to do two things: keep me awake and read the map. Okay, and then communicate, but that's secondary. Yes, sir.
No, one thing you haven't mentioned, or at least I came in late, so I'm not sure you have. You ain't going, I'm going to use some facetious English here. If you ain't got a full tank, you ain't going nowhere far, at least. Always have, I never let my gas tank ever get below half, unless something really drastic comes. But unless your vehicle is gassed up, you may not get to the interstate or to your favorite BLM road.
Right. So that's a good point. And we're going to talk about evacuation vehicles in a couple of minutes. We're going to talk about fuel. But that's a great rule. Okay. He doesn't get below a half a tank before he fills it. And that's typically what I do. When I get down to about a half, I never get below a quarter tank, ever. Okay? Even if, you know, like I said, I went down to Vegas, pulling a trailer and back. I got down to about a third of a tank, and that's when I stopped. But generally, I always have at least a half a tank of fuel in the truck. And then I have a few fuel cans as well. But that goes back to me being animal retentive. So, but are you ready to go now? So if you had right now, if we were told we have to evacuate Cedar City, do you have stuff in your car? Because, you know, that's where we're going to go. We're going to jump in the car and get out of here. Do you have stuff in your trunk, in your car, your truck, your whatever, that you can survive, you know, wherever for 3 days, 14 days, whatever number of days you pick? That's a question. And if you don't, you should. Okay? And then to that very point is a thing called the single point of failure, right? If you've only got one car and you're relying on that to evacuate you, you need to think about what happens when that car dies. Something happens to it. You get a flat tire. Okay, well, I got a high lift jack in addition to the bottle jack that's, you know, but like I said, I'm anal retentive. And this solar cycle right here, right? This thing, I'll tell you, man, that is like the best thing since sliced bread. Makes no noise. This thing doesn't make any noise. Got about a 30-kilometer range, about 25, 30 miles an hour, right? And I need to talk to Mark about. I think I'm going to get that for one of my kids. But that is a neat little. You know, I mean, if you have it at the farm, if you got it in town, it doesn't pollute. You park it out in the sun, it'll charge itself, and it's a zippy little critter, right? So, you know, as a backup means of transportation, okay? But
We can, if anybody wants to take a test drive today, you can.
and yeah, don't be frightened by it. Yeah, okay, I see you're looking at it. Okay, because the tires are real wide, it's real stable, it's got a real low center of gravity, right? You know, his 6 and 7-year-old daughters ride it. You know, my 14-year-old daughter likes to try to get bugs in her teeth on it. You know, she's trying to get all of it. You know, but it's a lot of fun, and it's, you know, another, like I said, a secondary way to evacuate. Now, this is my evacuation matrix for Cedar City. This is for me right now, okay? And I urge you to develop your own, okay? And that's one of those things that you might want to print it and put it in your wallet, okay? Because that way you have it. And if things change, you know, as situation changes, you got it with you. And let me explain what it is. So if there's an earthquake, less than a 6.0, I just stay home. I'm okay. If there's a 7.0 or greater within 100 miles, I think about going to my bug out location. Okay, why? Well, because the logistics could be interfered with. You know, the water could go, the pipelines could be ruptured. There could be, you know, the grocery store shelves are going to get empty. There could be blah 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 blah. Okay, so if it's bigger than 7.0 within 100 miles, I'm going to my bug out location. And when I say 100 miles, that could be St. George. And though Salt Lake is greater than 100 miles, if there's say a 7.5 in St. George, I'm going to my bug out location because I know there's going to be a flow of casualties. I mean, of refugees coming here looking for stuff. You know, I just would rather not be in town. Wildfire, if it's greater than 80% contained and the winds are low, not too worried. But if it's below 60% and it's within, say, a mile, I'm thinking about leaving the house. Okay. So again, those are my categories. And then my different criteria. So come up with those for yourself. And then you need to bear in mind too, you know, local, regional, national, global. All right, so let's just say Yellowstone goes off. I know a lot of people are worried about Yellowstone going off. Okay. Depending on how severe it is, on a typical day, the wind's going that way. Okay? So unless it goes off, you know, enormously where it's a planet killer, we're going to be fine here, okay? But, so there's local events, you know, things in town, regional. When I say regional, I think of Beaver, Cedar, St. George, right? And then again, so you can see. So keep those different levels in mind when you build your matrix. All right, so what is a bug out location? If I leave my home, if I bug out, where am I going? Where am I going? What does it need to have? Well, what I don't want to do is go to a place that's got worse security. I don't want it to be worse than what I have. I've heard people talk about, well, I'm just going to get in the car, I'm going to drive up to the park and sleep in a tent until it's all over. Okay. You really don't want to do that. You don't want to sleep in a tent, okay? Especially not this time of year, right? Because you need to think it through, okay? What routes? Because you can't have one. That's why it's plural, right? You can't just have one route. Apollo, come over here, lay down, stay. You need a foot in the butt? I would never do that, but he doesn't know that. He does speak English, though. All right, so duration. How long? How long is this event going to last? Is it 24 hours? Is it 14 days? Is it a month? Is it forever? Okay? Like potentially, we could have a solar event that kills the grid, and if it kills the grid, it's going to be at least 2 years before life is normal in the United States. Okay, that's just to get power restored. Okay, so in the meantime, not good. Pre-stocks, what resources do I need? And then that bug out location, wherever I'm going, is it secure? Is it defensible? Right? If guys who are in the military, we want to anticipate. We want to know what's coming. We put obstacles out there. We have perimeters. You never put out one obstacle. You put out several, right? So the guy gets into this one, then he's going to get into that one, then he's going to get into that one. Okay. So, and by the way, hey Mark, something we might want to carry is concertina wire. Okay. Right now I can get 5 rolls for $150, including shipping. Nino wants some, but so all the guys in the military know what concertina wire is. It's razor wire, right? That's what the stuff that they use at the top of the fence in jails and prisons and that kind of thing. So I'm thinking about getting a few rolls just to throw in my bug out trailer. So just in case I gotta, but that makes me really paranoid, doesn't it? Okay. So what are the essentials? And that's that 14-day bag, right? And then what are your non-essentials? There's some non-essentials that I got to take, okay? What I mean by that is I don't have to have chocolate to survive. But if my wife does not have chocolate, she will kill me, okay? So I have to have chocolate, okay? All right? I just bought her a box of Cliff Bars for her, box for the wife, just for the trip up to Salt Lake, so that the kids, the family doesn't kill each other in the car. All right, so
you do need to have chocolate to survive then.
yeah, in my family you do, yeah. But so depending on your family, your nice to haves, they're going to vary, right? Like with him, I've got dog food ready to go too as part of my kit, and then community, right? What are people in the community doing? Ideally we want to help each other, okay? That's why Mark opened this store. Mark opened this store to help Iron County be more prepared for a disaster. Just last week, Southwest Utah Regional Regional Health Department did a class called Stop the Bleed, right? 1 hour class, teaches you, if somebody gets hurt on the side of the road, and a gunshot, a car accident, you got an accident in the backyard, you're working with a chainsaw, you're working in the garden, cut your toe off with a hoe. I love these, okay? And the reason I got it in my pocket today is because I went to Vegas to pick up a motorcycle and I was going to ride the motorcycle today. So, in case I come off the bike, I can stop the bleeding, right, until ambulance shows up. I know that's a little anal, a little paranoid, right? No, appropriate. All right, I like you. Yes, sir.
One thing we're kind of blessed here that we don't have problems with Puerto Rico, for example. The storm went through, took out power poles, masts and everything. those people are bitching like heck because the power didn't come on 2 days before the storm hit. The same thing could happen if we had some earthquakes down to Vegas, took out those huge masts to California and wherever all they run. You can't put those back in a matter of days or weeks or even months because you don't have the spare parts just laying around. Plus, you don't probably have the personnel to do it and the equipment. And electricity has become very, a necessity, I guess you would call it. Learn to do something without it maybe for a while because it may be a long time before it gets running again.
Well, our society, you know, I mean, I like electricity. I do. And see right here, I'm using electricity, okay? I like it. I like electricity and I rely on it. And when I don't have it, I mean, by a refrigerator, we take it for granted, but here's the thing, right? You cannot heat your home today without electricity. And you're going to sit here and tell me, oh no, I got a propane heater. I can heat my home without it. No, you can't, because the controls, right, for your heater run on electricity. So if you don't have electricity, you're not going to run your furnace, okay? Now you might run, you can use a fireplace. You might have a backup. Michael, that is perfect timing. Because I was just going to say, grab me the Kelly kettle, and do we have one of our little propane stoves over there?
I have to grab it.
Okay, then some push-ups.
All right.
Yes, sir.
They claim that 9 of the 255 transformers are down. The whole grid goes down. 9 out of 255 that are nationwide. And that, of course, the rest, 90% of the population is dead within a year.
All right, so we want to talk about the grid a little bit. We have 4 grids in the United States that are fairly self-sufficient, right? I mean, they're connected, but they can stand alone. Texas being Texas, they have almost their own grid, right? And you're right. There's a couple of key places that if they go down, it takes the whole thing down. I used to work on a thing called NERC, which is the National Electricity Reliability Council. And we developed standards for the power industry. This is what you need to do from a security perspective. And they said, okay, yeah, it's going to cost money. We'll get back to you. And because they didn't do anything, then the federal government said, no, you're going to do it. And now it's the law, so they have to. Now, we're still billions of dollars behind hardening the grid. So what Michael's got is, so if the power goes out, what am I going to do at home? Well, I got a Kelly kettle. Actually, I got a model called a base camp, because it's got all the goodies in it. It's got the pliers, it's got plates and cups and all kinds of stuff. But that Kelly kettle, I can use wood chips, it's twigs, sawdust, paper, okay, to make heat or to cook. So that's one of the things that I have in my bug out kit. I have one next to my front door. So if I got to go out the door, it's in the bag. It goes with me. And the wife, she's got one with her too. So that's one. And then grab the propane too, would
It's
you?
all self-contained in the pouches.
Yep.
Like I said, here you have a little cooking grill. Your airflow's coming through here. You can actually feed your wood through here. This is actually the kettle itself. You see it's hollow through the center. All your heat is coming up in a funnel shape, heating the entire inside of that. Your water's inside your jacket. It boils in less than a minute, just a couple pine cones. And then while I'm boiling water, I put my fins in, and I can cook a meal on the top. So I'm boiling water and cooking a meal on the top.
Yeah, so why do I want to boil water? Well, because I got to make hot chocolate for the daughter, or she'll kill me, right? And then the hot water, I also used it for my mountain house, my freeze dried. Okay, so again, that thing boils water that fast. And then this thing, okay, that he's got,
It's actually, the fins fold down. It comes in a small little box, smaller than a deck of cards. These fins all fold together. Fits in its own little box. So you open it up, spread out your fins, flip out your legs. It is currently, in the condition it's in right now, and go straight onto a butane can. There's an adapter that's in transit that will allow it to hook to this can. And we have another adapter that your big propane tank at home on your barbecue grill will allow you to refill these bottles.
So don't ever throw those little bottles
Start
away.
saving them now. And so then it will hook onto here. Scott's pointed out to me, I always thought of it just as cooking, and you mentioned the heating properties of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So I make my wife keep one of those in the trunk of the car, right? So if she gets stranded in the snow, she can fire that thing up inside the car, that little propane bottle with that, right?
With an igniter.
Make some hot water. You make some. We got some. We got bouillon cubes, right? So she can make something hot to drink, right? And you're just gonna run that in the car for a while, heat the car up, turn it off. And cars leak air so badly. I'm not worried about her dying from carbon monoxide or any other kind of fumes, not in the car. And then, when she gets cold, fire it up again. And there's enough fuel in that one little propane bottle that she would be good stranded in the car for 3 or 4 days, okay, in one bottle. And because I'm so cheap, to Michael's point, we have an adapter. I will never. I used to throw those away when they were empty, but we have adapters now where I just screw that onto my bigger tank, and I fill up the little tank, and then I put it. Yes, sir.
One other thing, we talked about gasoline, propane. Keep your tanks full. Don't run them empty, because if electricity goes out, Maverick, I'm not sure, all these fill them up tank places, if they don't have electricity, they're not going to be able to fill you up either. So always think
Right.
a little bit ahead.
Yeah. So that's a good point too, right? So if the electricity's out, you can't go to the gas station and pump gas, right? You got to have electricity to pump gas at a modern gas station. Back when I was a kid, you remember they had the hand crank pumps, but those are long gone. Okay, so essentials, and then so there's some more long-term stuff in here. Gardening and livestock. It's just something to think about, right? I know that it's again, that's a lot more long-term. So your strategy, you need to consider, if you bug out, are you going to use that new location as your home base, right? That's one thing to do. Another thing to do is to be a nomad, as in, I'm just going to go on the road, I'm going to find what I could find, I'm just going to move away from wherever bad things are. I'm just going to avoid those and move away, okay? And then lastly is the hunter-gatherer, right? Where you're going to go and, raid Fred's orchard or kill Crystal's chickens or whatever you're going to do, okay? So there's three different strategies. So think about how you want to survive at your bug out location. And me, I believe in being self-sufficient. But the bottom line is your bug out location's got to be better than where you are, or it's not worth leaving. So what about bugging out in American history? So here's a few examples. The Dust Bowl, right? Over 3.5 million people left Oklahoma, Arkansas, that part of the country, right, during the Dust Bowl, and most of them moved to California. But they moved. They never came back. We were just talking about this here in the shop last week. 9/11, right? I don't know if you guys know this, but they evacuated Manhattan, right? They moved everybody in Manhattan. They evacuated Manhattan into New Jersey and into New York proper, in New York City. Half a million people. Yeah, that was probably a good day to be trying to go anywhere in New York, right? Okay, and then recently, Irma, right? In Florida, just 7 million people on the road at once, and they don't plan ahead, right? They're going to go 5 feet. They're going to stop. They're going to go to the gas station. They're going to want gas now because they drive around with a quarter tank of gas or less because I don't want to put gas in the car. Okay, so it's a choice. All right, so bug out criteria. This is kind of a visual way of explaining that matrix that I showed you a few minutes ago, right? Are you just going to sit in the water? You're a frog in that little tepid pond, that little tepid pan. It's nice, it's good, it feels nice. It's a bath. But as the heat's applied, you're cooking, okay? All right, so things are getting worse. And do you let it get worse or do you go? So have the trigger criteria before it gets to that, okay? Where it's so bad you have to abandon your vehicle and walk. All right, so and we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so our country, right? All right, anybody have any idea what percentage of America is a convicted felon?
10?
Yeah, about 10% of America is a convicted felon. Right. What's it mean when you're a convicted felon? You're not allowed to own a firearm, be in the presence of a firearm, or ammunition. Okay, so. Yeah, right. We don't need, this is not, I'm not trying to be political, and it's not political at all. We don't need more firearms laws. That's not what we need. You can pass all the laws you want. It's the crooks that don't obey the laws anyway. The laws aren't the problem. And then the longer a disaster lasts, the worse things get, okay? And this is not my opinion either, you know, I mean, it's supported by fact. You know, when things, like, you know, things devolve. Now, we lived in Vegas when the EBT, which is the Electronic Benefits Transfer System, so modern version of food stamps, right? For people that have, you know, a lower income and get government benefits to buy groceries. Well, there was a problem with the software in Las Vegas with EBT. It was just specific to Las Vegas. For 6 hours, system was down because of Reno, okay, state capital. There was software up there anyway. So because of that, there was a problem. For 6 hours, you couldn't use your EBT card. There was looting in Vegas in 6 hours over that. So yes, sir.
Just to let you know, the time is now 12 o'clock noon, which is what we promised. So if you want to kind of think of closing it up, and then anybody that has further questions, you can, Scott has told me he's definitely wanted to stick around and answer questions.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how many people here were lived in Cedar City years ago when Leland Freeborn airplane cut some power lines up by Beaver. We were without power here, what was it, 3 days?
3 days.
What time of the year was that?
That was actually the summer.
Yeah, so that's not so bad. You're just hot. But yeah, you know, if 3 days without power in February could be a significant problem. And yeah, so
Your food still goes bad in the icebox and stuff if you don't use it right. Or
that's true. Yep.
When you take that stuff out of the icebox, because of one of these 7-day freezers and coolers.
All right, so there's a couple of acronyms that we're going to talk about just real quickly because, you know, Mark told me, you know, I'm up against my time limit. So Plan M, okay? So protection, location, acquisition, navigation, medical. So this is just go through this thought process when you're deciding whether you're going to bug in or bug out, and if you have a bug out location, these are things to consider. And I'm going to keep.
The point that you just skipped over, the all hazard approach, it's not so much what's happening, how does that go?
All right, yeah, okay, so the all hazard approach, yeah, down here. Okay, so that's FEMA's expression. So FEMA, what they're saying is it doesn't matter why the lights went out, right? It doesn't matter if the drunk hit the power pole, knocked it over, and now there's no power in your block, or if the substation, you know, 5 miles away caught fire and burned, okay? The fact that you don't have lights, that you don't have electricity, that's what's key. So, you know, why it happened is secondary to what's happening. So the fact that the lights are out, okay. Now what do you do when the lights are out? You know, do you have an alternate means of light? Do you have? Can you grab that that light that I got on my everyday carry bag? Yeah, that thing. All right. So you guys all know what these are, right? Everybody's seen one of these, right? So I got a flashlight with me all the time, but I also have one of those in every room in the house. No, don't inflate it, because you'll never get it. Just turn it on. Navy, always trying to blow things up. All right.
This actually expands to be like a globe.
Yeah, if you inflate it, you can throw it out on the table and use it like a lantern, okay?
Floating.
But I have one, yeah, or throw it in the pool for Pete's sakes. They're waterproof, okay? So they're great for camping, but I have one of those, you know, in every room in the house and a couple of them in every vehicle. They're like $5 for those things, you know? And it's solar charged, and it's LED, and it runs for hours. So that is part of my alternate lighting method. Okay, yeah.
These are great for your blackout kits. So if you have a trunk at home with batteries and flashlights and blackout type materials, put this on the lid of your kit so you can actually find what you're looking for.
Or you get one of those and put it next to your 12-year-old daughter's bedside,
Yeah.
so that when she wants a light in her room to go from her bed to the light switch, she's got a light. She loves it.
Spoils rats.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you talk about? Oh, I thought you were talking about you again. No, sorry, somebody else. Yes, sir.
They don't want to do you out of business, but if you go buy something at Harbor Freight right now, you can get those things free for nothing as your gift for shopping there.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to run you out of business.
No, and that's
Go
fine.
get one right now.
They just brought them
Well, I told them
online.
it's gonna cost you 25 bucks to go down there and get it.
Well, that's
Buy it here.
irrelevant.
No, where you get, we want you to get things here too, yes. But, if we don't provide it, I understand you getting it somewhere else. If you can get it somewhere else less, then do that too. And if you can get it free, all the better. We're about you having the right resources. And if there's something that we don't have, if you'll let us know, we'll get it. Because, for example, Mark is working on bulk food on an account with a couple different providers, to where we can provide bulk food, in number 10 cans, 5-gallon pails, 55-gallon drum, 50-pound sack, depending on what you want and what size. So we're working on providing that too.
Yeah, if anybody's thinking of bulk foods, just please stop with me at the end here, and I'll take down what you're looking for.
We're actually placing an order on Monday for some bulk food, so we're willing to order what you want on Monday.
And if you're, and Mark is a health nut, okay? Health nut, yeah, nuts and health, okay. He's about to. I know one of the things he's got is a bunch of organic apples. So if you want organic, and you're worried about pesticides, that kind of thing. So I know that's one of the things they're gonna order. We do have a freeze dryer over here on this side of the store, by the way. At home I have a dehydrator, and whenever produce is cheap, I buy extra and I dehydrate it myself. So, all right. So a couple of things. Work together with people when you can. There's a lot. If you. Okay, I'm going to do this on purpose. Who here is a member of CERT? Put your hand up. Okay, higher. Let me see them. Okay, CERT. Okay, CERT.
We're having a course starting in January.
We should get the word out about that. Okay, so CERT, which stands for Community Emergency Response Team. Okay, it's sponsored by FEMA, a bunch of federal grant money. Yes, your tax dollars. Okay, so CERT. Yeah, I know FEMA's not my favorite organizations, but anyway. So CERT, though, you should all be CERT trained. Everybody in this room should do that. Where you go through and they'll teach you how to use a fire extinguisher, the right way to put out a fire. Don't try to up here at the flames and no. Okay, you spray it at the base. You got to use the right kind of fire extinguisher, depending on what the fuel is. How to provide first aid. How to blah 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 blah. Okay, so everybody, if it was up to Scott, as benevolent dictator of the United States, I would require every citizen to be CERT trained. Okay, all right. So January, if you're not CERT trained, because you got so much going on in January, because you can go out and surfing. Okay, no. So go get CERT trained. Okay.
Highly recommend it. Great fun time. Here and here, they serve snacks.
Because the life you save may be your own. Okay. All right. So this is something else too. I love this slide because I think it's hilarious. But okay, so your neighborhood, right? You want to work together with your neighbors, but I got a couple of neighbors that. Anyway, so I got neighbors like this, a couple of them. Not all. I got a couple good neighbors, but I got a couple that are like this, right? So with the killer whale sitting here in the water, and the other penguins want to know if the killer whale's still there. So they bump they bump him off, and he falls down, and the killer whale eats him. Now it's time to go in the water while he's busy. Okay? Yes. Do you have these neighbors that watch, or do you have the neighbors that push you in? Okay? And you need to have a plan for that. All right, so over the coming weeks, we do a series of classes. So if there's a topic that you want, and I'm really glad everybody's here today, if there's a topic that you want, please let Michael know. Michael's our store manager, right? So if there's a topic that you want, let us know. Either we'll have the right resources to teach the class, or we'll bring in an outside speaker. That's what they do. I mean, that's where they have the certifications in the background. Now, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, okay? Been there, done that, okay? Hurricanes, looting, Mogadishu, Kosovo, lots and lots of bad places, okay? I'm certified by FEMA to be an incident commander, okay? I design a bunch of stuff over the years. I'm a certified protection professional. I'm blah, 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 blah. So that's why I get to teach the classes, my classes. Now we have other guys with other expertise, like Josh we were talking about. Josh being a certified EMT with lots of experience in the field. So if there's a topic that you want, if there's something you want, because we want Cedar City to be the most prepared city in America. That's our goal. So if there's a topic that you want, please tell Michael, okay? All right, so in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about these other things too. That's my EDC over there, my everyday carry that I got with me all the time with some essential goodies in it. Then I have a get-home bag. My wife has a GEHB, a get-home bag in the trunk. So, and then the 72-hour kit kind of covers a couple of different areas. That's all the stuff that you need to survive for 72 hours in one kit. Okay, that's water, it's blah, blah, blah. So if I have to evacuate the house, I grab that bag, I get in the car and I go. Or I shelter in place at home. I have everything right there, okay, that I need to survive for 72 hours. I would strongly get that as long as you can. Get it to 7 days, get it to 14 days. And then I have these other things too. All right. So you decided to bug in, okay? There's events going on. We're going to stay home so we don't have to go out and deal with it. So this is a different matrix of priorities, okay? Number one priority for this guy is, criticality I should say, is avenues of escape. How am I going to get out of here, okay? So make your own set of criteria. And again, all these files are, if you gave Michael your email address, we'll send you a copy of the PowerPoint and all the checklists and all the stuff that's behind all this.
Has this been uploaded on your website yet?
No, that's not yet, because I'm doing it live. And then when we get done and edit it, because I'm sure my language has got to be edited out of it the way I speak, then we'll load it up. But in the meantime, we can email you the slide deck and all the checklists too, the PDFs and the Word docs. Okay, so priorities. These are my priorities. Okay, yours might differ a little bit, but this is my priority list. So that's, and then a couple things to think about. Depending on where you live, this is not to pick on anybody. Okay, it isn't. This is based on statistics. I used to be a criminal justice professor too. So anyway. So, homeless shelters. If you live anywhere near Pioneer Park in Salt Lake, move, okay? Because if things get bad, those folks that are addicts are going to, look for the soft targets and try to take what they want, what they need. So that's one. The second thing, or number two, B, is public housing. And here's why. Why public housing? Because these people have less. They're closer to the edge, if you will. They don't have the money, the time, the expertise to be prepared. Okay? So I won't call him a friend. There's a guy I know in Las Vegas. He's a former Army Ranger. He's going to medical school right now. He was a Ranger and a combat medic. He's going to medical school. And Travis, his plan is, he doesn't prepare. He's got firearms and ammo, and his plan is if you need something, he's just going to go take it, okay? And I said, wait, you're going to medical school. What is the first thing that they talk about? That the Hippocratic Oath. Let's see, do no harm. Do no harm. So how in the hell are you taking their stuff, so they starve to death. That you're a hypocrite. You know, so he's the kind of guy that I really detest. Okay, so the folks that are at the limit, and then, you know, so you can see public trailer parks. Again, you know, it's economics. This is not, it's just nothing personal. Jails and prisons. Look, if the lights go, if there's no electricity, right? If there's no electricity, they have generators, right? What happens? Okay, after 3 days, they got to get a fuel resupply for the generators. When there's no electricity at a jail or prison, they're going to get out. The inmates are going to get out. Okay, all the controls are based on electricity. Okay, they're either going to escape, or in some cases, seriously, the policy is to release those inmates into the public because the jail can't care for them. Okay, so don't live next to a jail. And then lastly, a college campus. Okay, all right. College campuses. Students, right? College students think that a great meal is ramen noodles and hot dogs. Okay, so they're not, you know, they're right there against the limit now. They don't have extra food. They don't have extra anything as college students. And, you know, you get 2 male college students together and you got a riot. Okay, so, and that's just a slight exaggeration. Yes, sir.
I'd like to give an example. I'm in college right now. My wife was before she graduated. And for our wedding, we actually asked for those kind of supplies.
Preparedness.
Because we don't have the money to buy them. My grandparents actually gave me food from their storage. So we've got, I don't know how many beans.
100 pound beans.
At least 100 pounds.
So that's a good start. But that's not typical. Most college students, you go into a college dorm and they don't have much in the way of resources.
So,
you know?
as a tip for everyone else, whenever our friends get married, you know, here's a number 10 can of rice or something.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So these next graphics, I'm not going to talk about them much. I'm just going to put them up for just a second just to let you see them unless you have a question. Because you're going to get a copy of the slide deck. Because we have a lot of questions and discussion today. The home security checklist thing. Okay, this goes back to being prepared for a fire. Okay, and so you know, if you do the right things, your home will survive a wildfire. There's a list. We have a couple of lists in here that, in the event of a disaster, things that you should do at home. Okay. All right. So, but you decide to bug out. So here's a. This is a mind map or a thought process on how to get, you know, from 0 to 10. Okay, so I'll let you look at that at your leisure. Where are you going? How are you going to get there? And this is the same guy that was evacuating Tampa, that waited so long to evacuate from Tampa. Actually, he left early. He didn't wait for the hurricane to hit Tampa to go, but he waited for it to hit Miami. Okay, then he left. So all the rest areas were closed. You know, all the gas stations were empty and closed. So don't have any sympathy for the guy. So know when to go, because if you wait too long, you might not get out. Gas Buddy, you guys, anybody familiar with Gas Buddy? It's another app you can put on your smartphone. So my wife, if she would navigate, I'd say, honey, what's the closest gas station that's got diesel, right, for the truck? That's still open. It still has fuel, and she can look on Gas Buddy and you can tell me the address. So Gas Buddy's also got prices, quantity, blah 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 blah. So, and there's different apps to help you do that too. All right. So a few minutes ago we were talking about bugging out in the car. So you go down the road, you're in your car, you get a flat tire, your car craps out, overheats, whatever the cause is. So now you got to get out of the car. What are you going to do? Man, if it was me, I would love to have one of these in the bed of my truck, right? Just drive out of the bed of the truck, get on that thing and go. But yeah, I know it only seats 2 actually, but that particular one. So what happens? Then you're on foot, okay? So if you're walking, the combat load that a soldier carries today is around 100 pounds, depending on your MOS and blah, 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 blah. Okay, different details. Your load varies, okay? but the rule of thumb is not more than 25% of your body weight, okay? Now that's for soldiers who are physically fit, and I'm not fit anymore. You know, my body's broken. You know, military service does that to you. So I would not carry 25% of my body weight. I want to carry maybe 10, 15 pounds. Even less, my wife who weighs 68 pounds soaking wet with lead in her pocket, okay? She's probably gonna, you know, she would probably carry 5, 10 pounds. My kid, she's gonna carry maybe 5 or 10 pounds. He's gonna carry 2 or 3 pounds. But, so have a plan, have a bag, you know, where if you're on foot, and where are you gonna go? If you bug out from your house, where are you gonna go? Know where the danger areas are. Okay, so for example, there's a college campus, there's a jail, whatever. Know where those bad places are that you want to avoid. Okay, when you're developing your routes. And then, you know, again, you know, so yeah, so here's a soldier with his combat load. Yes, that's right. This guy, you know, SF, Special Forces, you know, infantry, those guys, they can carry you know, a ruckus like 60, 70, 60, 75 pounds. Right? And plus a weapon, okay? I mean, that's a lot of crap. Stuff, a lot of stuff. And you took your hotel with you everywhere you went. Yeah. Yeah. Freezer, ice cream, oh, I know. Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, torpedo magnets, yeah. They're that too.
You gotta know how to swim, that's the only thing.
Okay, 2,000 miles? Okay.
I can swim 2,000 miles.
Okay. All right. So roads, you know, these are all considerations. You know, I have a bug out. This isn't my bug out trailer, but I got one. I built something like this, right? Where, you know, I got all the essentials, right? That's that's only if you're really anal retentive like I am. Yeah, but a friend of mine, you know, her bug out plan is she's got an RV, right? And she's got a motor coach, right? She's going to drive it. That's her. If she's got a bug out from her place, that's what she plans to do. But you better plan ahead with those things, right? Because there's a limit of, you know, your degree, your angle of departure.
It ties into your plan of assets and knowing other people, because her actual RV is like a mobile hospital.
Yeah, that's right. Her
She's got all
RV.
these security skills. She's got all the medical skills, and they have all the equipment between them. So no man is an island. You have to have your network of people with resources and skills.
So that's part of that community thing, you know, where, yeah. So she's our medic for all intents and purposes. Her IV's a rolling hospital, and there's things that I provide. There's things my wife provides, and my 12-year-old daughter is a designated sniper, and she really is a good shot. Yeah. So that's it right there. I love that thing. Okay.
Have you ever thought about, you can get these bicycles that put the motors in?
Yeah. Yep.
They'll take you
Yeah. Motorized bicycle. Yeah. Yep.
with a little trailer.
Well, yeah. There's a guy down in St. George that's got motorized bicycles, and they got different sizes for different capabilities. But this thing, I don't have to pedal that. Legally, it's a bicycle, right? That's what I like, because my knee is shot. So all I got to do is get on that thing and ride, and it makes no noise. And it's got enough torque. I mean, you can do wheelies on that thing. Okay, it's really a neat little gizmo. And I'd have, if I had all the money in the world, I would have one of those for each member of the family, one of the electric bikes, right? If it was me. All right. So yeah, I know. It's essentially it's a wheelbarrow. But hey, I mean a wagon. But that's probably a whole lot better than carrying stuff on your back. And you better have no flat tires, right? Not inflated tires, no flats, right? Yeah, this guy. By the way, that's Michael's truck. Go ahead, put your hand up. With the boat, Navy.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Zombies don't know how to swim, so.
And these things, there's a company we were at a conference a couple months ago. There's a company up near Salt Lake that builds those excursion vehicles. 100,000, 300,000, how much do you want to spend on one? Huge. Yeah, they will go anywhere, but they're not free. So when you get this file, there's some links, right? Oh, the Silva system, that's the Silva compass. If you don't know how to navigate, if you can't read a map, go there. And it's so easy. I know, if I just say, bring up navigation to the wife, she tries to poke me in the eye. But those are some good links. If you just look up Silva compass, you use a Silva compass. There's also YouTubes, you know, so if you do a risk assessment, this thing is the national response team, right? If there's a disaster inside the United States, yada yada. But there's a lot of good resources, okay, that they have. So that's why I wanted to give you this link. And then homeowner's checklist. Get that house ready for a fire or whatever your risks are. So stress, right? So in a disaster in and of itself is a stressful situation. The more prepared we are, the better off we're going to be, right? Monday, I'm in a class called Mental Health in a Disaster. And yes, I have a degree in psychology, but that's a whole nother career, but it's not for me. I'm not going to walk up to you and I'm not going to provide you professional services in a disaster, but I will be a volunteer in a disaster. And if you can come up to me and say, hey, I saw X, Y, and Z, Bob exploded, he's all over me. And I mean, physically he exploded, right? And, and I'm traumatized by it. What should I do? Well, I'll sit there and talk to you, and then we'll get you to the right person. It's mental health triage is what it is. And it's free. So there's lots of things going on here in the region, okay? I talked about the Stop the Bleed class. It was 2 weeks ago. So I should have put it in here. Michael, you got to remind me to do this. It's Eventbrite. 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 Eventbrite talks about a lot of free classes, free and open to the public, okay? So if you're interested in CERT, if you're interested in first aid, if you're interested in those kinds of things, whether they're here in Cedar or St. George, I go to events in St. George. I got one coming up in December that's in Moab, that I'll be going to. So lots of resources. So, where all this is going is now that you know what some of the risks are, my challenge to you is to become better prepared for disasters, okay?